In your co-main, Reinier de Ridder, RDR, defeats Bo Nickal at 153 of round number 2 via KO, knee to the body. Brothers and sisters, that was a terrible loss for Bo Nickal. I mean, it could be a good thing, actually. I want to be clear. This is, to me, not the same as like for example, Ryan Garcia had a horrible loss yesterday in New York City, but it's different. This one actually could be very good for Bo Nickal. But it really all depends on how he takes it. But as it stands tonight, this was a bad one. And the reason why it was bad is a few. One, dude, when you're a wrestler, you're kind of supposed to be, especially one as good as him, you're supposed to be kind of like, the boss of the more physical of the two. He was not. He got out physical. Now, it did look to me like, I've never been one of these guys that was like, oh, Bo is terribly undersized for 85. And I'm not ready to say that yet, but RDR kind of towered over him a little bit. That was an interesting thing. But he got out physicaled in this one, which was interesting. That's the first problem. Second problem, he didn't take a terrible beating in the sense that it went on for like 3-4 rounds where, you just can't escape and it's not enough for a stoppage, but it just ends up fucking you up. This one was pretty clinical. So I don't mean in that sense, but what it will do to his confidence, having someone put hands on you like this, when I guarantee you they're not doing this to him in the gym, it could be a big wake-up call for him. But that's not really the reason why it matters. The reason why it matters is because this performance laid bare any notion of any place that Nickal could hide. Well, I went 3 rounds with Paul Craig, but I didn't have to shoot and blah, blah, blah. And what were the fights that Bo Nickal had before this one? So before this one, it was, it was Cody Brundage, and that one went long, but it was like, all right, it was UFC 300. He was getting a little bit ahead of himself. And then before that, it was just, Jamie Pickett and Val Woodburn. But, there were some questions about them, but you didn't, there was always some kind of asterisk on it where I was like, well, it does, what did it mean in this case? And we can't read too much into it. And what did it mean in this case? And it's a little hard to read into it. And even the Paul Craig one is like, that was a bad one. That one definitely didn't send like confidence your way. But at the same time, it's like, all right, it's not like he took a beating either. And, good. It's good to get 3 rounds and blah, blah, blah. Tonight, RDR exploded all of it. There is no place left to hide. There is no place left to argue. It is clear as day. There's nothing he can say to the contrary, and I hope that he doesn't. Like a good fighter is going to look at this and say, wow, that was a wake-up call. I don't know how he's going to take it, but this is the point I'm trying to make. His development is not going correctly. It is not keeping up and has not really kept up with the hype. But again, you're kind of able to fudge it and all these other different points. It cannot be fudged. It cannot be explained away. It cannot be, well, what about this? There's no what abouts. His development is poor. It's poor. I don't make the fucking rules. It's poor. It's not where it needs to be. And if I do say so myself, it's not really close. Some of these other fights before, again, we kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. Hard to know exactly what it might mean. Now we know. Now, in fairness to Bo Nickal, RDR is not a bullshit opponent. RDR is a good opponent. And we'll talk about what it means for him to be here in the UFC now, because what a breath of fresh air he is, right? We need, like, in an era where we kind of complain a lot about, the fights may not be this good, and what about this card? Teams like the Fighting Nerds, I know Prachis just lost, but, in general, the Fighting Nerds have been a source of joy for all of us. And RDR in the UFC has been a source of joy. We'll come back to that. Tonight was a night for Bo Nickal, if he chooses to look at it this way, as whatever he thinks he's doing in the gym, he's not. He made his UFC debut not that long ago, March of 2023, 2 years. It is not clear to me at all there's any improvement in his striking in 2 years. That's not to say that there isn't, but what is the visible truth to that? Not what someone sees in the gym, what we are able to witness. What is the evidence that since he fought Jamie Pickett, his jab has really gotten better? It doesn't exist. Again, insofar as what we can watch from afar, not in the gym. Because maybe in the gym he's doing something different and then he gets out there and lays an egg. I don't know. But from what we can tell, it has not improved. I think his wrestling might have even regressed, if I can be honest with you. His wrestling didn't look lights out to me either. I don't know what the fuck that was tonight. And this was a guy who I thought was going to be, he was locking up triangles on Donovan Beard on the Contender Series. I was like, oh my God, this guy is just going from takedown to triangle to overhand right. Like look how he's putting everything together. Look how he's weaving it all together. It feels like that has gotten worse. Now, again, RDR is going to make that hard. I understand that. But I'm going to ask one more time. From what we can tell as observers, what is the evidence that the way in which his jiu-jitsu can accompany his wrestling has improved? What the fuck is it? I don't even know how to answer that question anymore. Far from not getting good fast enough, it appears to me he might even be in certain respects, not altogether, but in certain respects regressing. And it's not for a lack of talent. It's not for a lack of athletic ability. It's not for a lack of, look at who his coaching staff was. We got Mike Brown and Thiago Alves. Like, you're not dealing with, again, these are not chumps that are giving him advice. These are good ass fighters, bro. Real good fighters. I covered both of their careers. These guys know what the fuck they're doing. So what is the issue? Only he knows that. Is he not working hard enough? I don't know. Is he training in such a way that he's not being pushed? I don't know. Those are only things that he can answer. What I can tell you is what he trotted out tonight after, again, it's not a huge amount of time, but enough time where there should be for someone of this athletic caliber who came into the UFC with, forget the hype. I don't give a shit about the hype. I'm talking about just the skill set. 3-time national Division I national champion. You're coming into the UFC with that and you're looking like this. Wake up call time. Wake up call time, if that's what he wants it to be. And if he doesn't want it to be it, then if this doesn't serve as a wake up call, he's already peaked. I don't make the fucking rules. I can only tell you what I've seen in these scenarios, including from D1 national champions. If he doesn't take it this way, if he doesn't take it as a wake up call, he has already peaked. I mean, he'll get some other wins, I'm not saying he'll never win again or anything like that, but like you can't get better if you don't, like, I don't know how anyone could look at this fight from Bo Nickal and be like, okay, one argument I will accept is maybe this was a little too much too soon. Clearly that was the case, but also because you do have a very experienced, high quality opponent in RDR. Okay, I'll buy that. But the fact that I'm watching it and I'm like, dude, where's your jab? It doesn't exist. How are you letting him bully you? Like, what are we talking about here? He's trying to do these, like, he was going to do these Harai Goshis or Uchimatas from dogfight position. And he had the one throw by, which was kind of nice, but he couldn't make anything work. Like, how are you struggling to get on top of this guy who's the way in which he presented himself? I mean, he's a kind of a Dutch submission specialist, but like a Dutch kickboxer, right? Because the Dutch kickboxing history. I mean, again, he's more of a submission specialist, but the way in which he argued to Michael Bisping about who he wanted to be. This took the, like, whatever myth, whatever Bo Nickal was telling himself about who he was, and then trying to relay that to us. Kaboom. Blown to pieces. Doesn't exist. Now we know what we're working with. And I still think he's quite good. It sounds like I'm being mean to him, but trust me, I do actually think he's quite good. And provided he decides to go back and think about, wait a second, what the fuck am I doing in training where they're putting me against guys like this and I am just getting bodied? You got some questions to ask yourself. And honestly, now going back to that Paul Craig fight, and you're not putting jabs in his face, you're just throwing overhands. Again, I was willing to look the other way a little bit on that because I'm like, well, 3 rounds experience, and it's only his 7th pro fight, and blah, blah, blah. Mm-mm. 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 Not anymore. Now, let's be a little fair to him. He could learn a lesson from this, and it could make him much better. I've seen guys take hard lessons and come back and they're like, you know what? That fucking guy worked hard and got better. Right? I saw it with Josh Koscheck, D1 national champion. Not as good as Bo, but in terms of pure wrestling. But I saw him. It worked for him. It can be done. But let's also talk about Reinier de Ridder. Dude, what a fucking guy he is, huh? How great is this? How great is this? First of all, I want to point out something. He left one, and their argument was that he didn't have a right to leave. Do you guys remember this? One tried to argue he was still under contract, and he went and fought, I think it was like UAE Warriors before he came to UFC. Let me see if I got that right. Yep, sure did. Yes, after losing to Malik, he lost to Malakin in back-to-back fights, which is, in fairness, that's a tough assignment, right? We can all agree. Fighting a heavyweight who's like a Fedor-esque heavyweight in the sense that he's a smaller heavyweight. All right. And Anatoly Malakin fucked him up proper. But he goes and fights Magomed Murad Kasayev, polishes him off in 2.5 minutes inside round number 1. And then he fought GM3 and then Kevin Holland and now Bo Nickal. What I'm trying to make is, when he fought at the UAE, one put out a statement being like, hey, he is under contract with us and we're going to pursue this, blah, blah, blah. And then I guess they just gave it up. I don't know. And then the UFC signed him. And the GM3 fight was fun, but it took a little while to get going and eventually was great. He runs over Kevin Holland. And then today, man, he looked awesome against Bo Nickal. Dude, fucking RDR. That bell rang. I don't know a lot of internet terminology for what the 20-year-olds are talking about, but like there's one male of the group, Mog. Who mogged the other one? It was RDR. He walked over there and was like, dude, RDR walked across the cage and basically told Bo Nickal, you're about to have a bad fucking day. Just took control of it. Got in his face, unafraid of contact, made him fight on his terms, and even for shit that didn't work, those from dogfight positions, those Harai Goshis, right, where he was trying to throw, the judo ones where he's sticking the leg out. Uchimata is between the leg, Harai Goshi is across both. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. So he's in the dogfight position, and so overhook and underhook, and then he's trying that. He's trying the Harai Goshi. It doesn't work, but the point is he's forcing Bo Nickal to answer to him, and then matches him in the jiu-jitsu to where he comes out. I have to go back and look at the sequence, but matches him where he comes out on top in the first round, right? Where I'm like, Bo Nickal's kind of stuck underneath here. I was like, holy shit. And the whole time in the clinch, body shot, knee, body shot, turning him off the underhook. And Nickal would answer to a degree on some of that. But dude, who looked lost between them? Was it RDR? Nope. Like, not even a little bit, brother. Not even a little bit. He just, if you guys ever go to regional MMA, watch to see who's like 1-1 or 1-0 or even pro debut. What you're going to see in scenarios like that, not always obviously, but typically what you'll see is one opponent is going to just be the like a hardcore aggressor. And pressure and aggression works basically at all levels of MMA, but there's diminishing returns the higher you get, because the guys who are really good either can get away from it or they can weaponize it against you. But at the lower levels, or I should say, even if guys are good but they're like less experienced in MMA, pressure works extremely well, like just getting in a guy's face and pouring it on him. And I think RDR's team took a look at this and they were like, dude, this guy, yeah, he's got a gazillion hours of wrestling competition experience, and that's fine. But as it relates to MMA, It's not like he's showing like all of that. He hurries himself, and like you saw against Paul Craig. They took the same kind of approach. Make him answer for your offense and do it all the time. No break. No break. Don't let him settle at all. And if he stops one, try another one. If he gets double underhooks, knees to the body. If he lets an underhook go, you re-underhook. If you get the underhook, you turn him. If he turns you, turn him back again. Change, just constantly finding something to do the whole time, because they knew that this guy didn't have the kind of experience to know what to do in those scenarios, and didn't have his game ironed out enough to be able to even call upon himself what to do. Dude, RDR is excitement. He went in there and took that fight by the scruff of the neck. He fucking had offense basically everywhere, and in the end got a clear, not a decision, but like clearly showed himself to be the vastly superior fighter tonight, and did it in a fun and exciting, and what did I make a video about on this channel this week? Guys who fight by directing the contest to fight ending scenarios. And sometimes you luck into ones, and sometimes you can't. And sometimes you try and it doesn't work, and sometimes it kind of falls in your lap. But he knew investment to the body. He talked about how he could feel him wilting. They knew keep pouring it on, and this guy was going to give you something. And sure enough, he did. He didn't, no mas. He didn't want no more. RDR is fucking awesome. He's awesome. It's so great that he's here. What a great signing from One. And I'll give credit to One. They tried to make use of him. He was a double champ there. RDR was a double champ there. Folks forget that. He was a double champ there. They're trying to make use of that. They're trying to make use. They made some decent use of that over in One. But it's a different world now. It's a different opportunity. It's a different time. And now it's the UFC's chance. This was great matchmaking by the UFC matchmakers. And I don't know what's next for RDR. Apparently he called for Sean Strickland. Hard to say if he's going to get that one, because it does seem like the UFC is probably going to want to do Izzy and Sean Strickland 2. And so that's going to kind of complicate the efforts. But whatever they give him next, would you not agree? RDR, appointment television. RDR's on the card? Sweet. You know what I mean? He's not going to go in there and just fucking malinger around. That's just not what he's going to do. He's going to go right after you. And he went right after Bo Nickal. He showed Bo Nickal no respect. I mean, he did as a person, but not as a competitor. As a competitor, he showed him nothing. And look at the result. Bodied him. Incredible. What a fucking performance by him. And again, shouts to my Morning Combat co-host, Brian Campbell. Saw it coming as well. Good on him. All right.